Hello and welcome back to Soft Spoken Storytime, Episode 2, and back again with SCP-001, File 6, Codename Dr. Man, The Spiral Path. Object Class Embla. Containment Procedures. SCP-001 is contained on the grounds of Site-0 in Upstate, Redacted. A fence has been constructed around the perimeter of SCP-001's observed effects. In addition to Site-0's security, no fewer than 5 armed guards are to be present at all times to prevent unauthorized entry. The adjoining physics laboratory will be manned at all hours, studying any anomalies. A small metal plaque bearing an inscription will be maintained in good condition. Any damage is to be immediately reported to maintenance. Description: SCP-001 is a circular gravel path in a wooded area. When traveled in a counterclockwise direction, the trail is continuously uphill, even after reaching the original point. When traveled in a clockwise direction, the trail shows the same amount of uphill and downhill travel as expected. Level 5 clearance is required to access SCP-001's experiment log. New members of Overseer Council are required to read Document 001-05. Document 001-05. If you're reading this, then congratulations. One of us has died. Something killed one of us. A monster, perhaps, or a rival from the GOC. Or maybe we just got a little close to the flame like Aaron. Not old age, of course. We took care of that, didn't we? Anyway, one of the old guard is gone. Maybe Jason, maybe Agnes, maybe me. Hell, I'd be surprised if I wasn't the next one to die. I always was the most expendable. I'm going to write this to you as though you were a human being. It will be the last time anyone extends you the courtesy, so I hope you appreciate it. Whoever you are, whatever you did before, you must have been high-ranking when you were pulled into this. You must have noticed the discrepancies, the inconsistencies. I don't know how much you've been told already, or how much you've pieced together. The crux of the matter is this: the retrievals and recoveries of SCP objects are staged, or made up whole cloth. We have never discovered an SCP in the entire history of the Foundation. I should start from the beginning. Let me tell you a story. Aaron Seigel was a physicist studying at Cornell in 1891. He was a truly gifted individual, and had his life taken a different path. I believe that his name would be there with Edison, Einstein, and Hawking. I knew him very well. He was, and may still be, my brother. He was also an avid amateur naturalist and enjoyed hiking through the woods. One day, while visiting our family home in Essex County, he came across a gravel path. He decided to follow it for a time, and noticed that it kept climbing uphill far longer than it should have. It should have taken him above the nearby hill. Instead, he found himself back where he'd started, without a foot of downhill travel. Another man would have assumed his senses were faulty and left. Aaron, however, was a stubborn man. He investigated further. He found the path did not conform to the pure geometry of Euclid. Like Zachary before him, he had found something abhorrent to the nature of straight lines. He studied it. The equations he derived are part of the file you've received. You'll learn them by heart eventually. He built a small shack nearby which served as a makeshift laboratory. His first experiments produced a key capable of opening any lock, now contained as SCP-005. He brought in others. As his brother, I was one of the first he contacted. I was a medical student at Harvard at the time. I initially thought he was mad, but when he showed me the path, the key, I had to learn more. There were others with us. Other friends and colleagues. Most of them are gone now, but we were the core. We created the Foundation from around ourselves. In the beginning, it was just about discovery, about finding the things we could do. We had such high hopes, such plans. We were going to change the world. We were going to save it from itself. We could feed the hungry, shelter the homeless, heal the sick and dying. Thomas Carter found us money. We were none of us poor, but we ran through our fortunes quickly. Thomas used his connections on Wall Street and Washington to fund us. He showed them the least of what we could do, and promised heaven against the threat of hell. Agnes Peterson, my brother's fiancée, was the administrator. We knew nothing of how to run an organization. We were a herd of cats, running to and fro, and she turned us into a foundation, putting us dreamers and madmen in the same yoke. We soon had a facility built, but we were still so secretive. As much as we wanted to shout from the rooftops what we had found, we were frightened, too, that it would be taken from us. We told ourselves it was just for the interim, until we were sure of our footing. We'd show them eventually. We'd show them all. We were careful at first. We made small, inoffensive, or even helpful items. The Fountain of Youth, the bouncing ball, the Civil War statue. We grew more confident and we started working on humans. The concrete man. He volunteered. Or the man with the abdominal planet. Just a drifter, but we made him something special, didn't we? It was all so easy. Perhaps it seems absurd to get so many things from that one little break in reality, but it all flowed, one discovery to the next. It almost seemed like something was helping us along. But then, things started going a bit wrong. While he was playing with his equations, Aaron accidentally derived the missing number. In my laboratory, I found I'd made the zombie plague, but we were too invested in our projects, so we pushed ahead. Then came the pipe nightmare, and the stairwell. We knew we'd need more help. Thomas showed what we'd done to the military, told them we'd found these things, discovered them. We made up names like Prometheus Labs and the Chaos Insurgency. They gave us funding, personnel. We built up and expanded outward. We repeated the style in other countries. Some listened, some didn't. Enough did. We became an international organization. We brought in more researchers, though very few ever suspected we were the source of these items they studied. Sometimes we would arrange for an object to be found by a field team. Sometimes we would simply write the reports. We generated the paperwork, and we were the oversight. If we said a thing was, it was. It still is. There were still problems, of course. Jeremy and Thomas took one of our experiments and ran off with it, creating their ridiculous club. One of our researchers grew mad and started worshipping machines, escaping with enough knowledge to be dangerous. We still deal with the fallout of these splinter groups. So we contained them. We handled them. We couldn't stop. Surely you can see that. Rather than more cautious, we grew bolder. I cut a little boy up and turned him into the flesh that hates. There were reasons. There were always reasons. 231. We created her and her sisters. We took them from orphanages and arranged for what followed. And it was no accident. We knew what we were doing. There was a reason for it once, but I'll be damned if I can remember it now. None of us do, except maybe my brother, whatever he is now. We keep moving forward. Even after Abel, after the blood pond, after the damnable reptile, we still move forward with our work. What else can we do? Our only hope to survive the events we've set in motion is to understand better, to learn more. We're on the back of a terrible beast, and if we try to jump off now, we'll be crushed beneath. But that's not what frightens me, and it isn't what should frighten you. We've maintained our foothold for over 100 years. The things I really worry about are the anomalies we didn't create. No, I was telling the truth the first time. We didn't discover any of them, but some of them, they aren't our work. They just were one day. They were in containment, and they'd always been in containment. Don't you see? We're not in control anymore. We never were. File 7. Codename Dr. Mackenzie. The Legacy. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All elements of SCP-001 are to be contained in separate environment-controlled lockers at Site 0. The location of Site 0 is classified Level 5 and is only known by members of O5 Command. Access to SCP-001, its transcripts and data, is restricted to O5 level personnel, except during Protocol 0. Protocol 0 may only be enacted by a direct, unanimous act by the entirety of O5 Command, and Protocol 0 procedures are to be disseminated only to those specifically permitted by O5 Command. Description: SCP-001 is a set of 2 objects and 33 documents belonging to Data Expunged, alias the Administrator. SCP-001-01 and SCP-001-02 are respectively data expunged. SCP-001-03 through SCP-001-35 are a mixed set of handwritten and printed documents. They are normal in all respects except that they do not show signs of aging or fading in any way, and dating of the paper on which they are comprised of has shown inconsistent results. The contents of these documents, as detailed below, consists of data expunged, data expunged, data expunged, data expunged, as these objects formed the impetus for the creation of the SCP Foundation and all of its constituent activities and processes. As such, this information is only to be disseminated by direct order of O5 Command as per Protocol 0. Classified Level 5 by order of O5 Command, eyes only. Unauthorized access of these documents is punishable by immediate termination. Addendum 001-01, Analysis of SCP-001-01 and SCP-001-02. SCP-001-01 is a smooth device composed of an unidentified gray metallic substance, approximately 22 centimeters wide, 30 centimeters tall, and 1.5 centimeters thick. It is unusually heavy, weighing approximately 8.2 kilograms. It is equipped with a small digital display and has a single opening that appears to be a type of keyed activation switch. Attempts to disable the device or analyze its technology have been unsuccessful so far, as there appear to be no seams or fasteners visible on the device. Attempts to image the interior of SCP-001-01 utilizing X-ray or magnetic resonance have resulted in inconsistent results, suggesting that the device is either too dense to properly image or has inconsistent internal topography. SCP-001-01 appears to only be capable of displaying two indicators. One appears to be a status or progress bar with an accompanying number, currently at approximately 23%. The other indicator is a single digital counter displaying the number redacted. SCP-001-02 is a small key composed of the same unidentified metallic substance as the main casing of SCP-001-01. It is currently assumed that this is the activation key for SCP-001-01. Addendum 001-02. Transcript of SCP-001 documents. SCP-001-03 is a personal diary belonging to the Administrator. SCP-001-04 through SCP-001-35 were inserted between various pages of SCP-001-3 at time of delivery. Excerpt from 001-03, page 1. I always hated the idea of writing in a diary. Documentation is one thing, but I guess I never saw the point in putting down my personal thoughts. The scientist in me is telling me that someday someone might want to know how this all started. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 3. They say that the first time is always the hardest. I have managed to secure funding and personnel from the federal government, and I have established an organization that will allow me to continue the research. President, redacted, insists that I turn the device over for safekeeping, but I have made it clear that I can't let it out of my possession. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 7. Progress, unfortunately, has been slow these past decades. I am adamant that we cannot reproduce the technology until we have found a solution, as I am sure that unless we kill both birds with one stone, we will simply hasten the process. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 9. I had to kill them. They had been reproducing the technology all along and hiding it from me. I will be moving on in the next 24 hours. This place is doomed at this point. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 15. Again, I will not make the same mistake again. The mere thought of lying to the very people I need to reach my goal is bitter, but I can no longer afford to let them know the truth. SCP-001-05 is a page printed from what appears to be an inkjet printer found inserted between pages 15 and 16 of SCP-001-03. This page has been preserved in the same unidentified method as the rest of the documents in SCP-001. Memo from the Office of the Administrator. Humanity has existed in its current state for hundreds of millennia, yet only the last few have held any meaning for us. What did we do for the countless years before recorded history? We huddled in caves, warding off the night with small fires, fearful of the things that we could not understand. It was not just that we did not understand why the sun rose every morning. It was the mystery of enormous fish with the heads of men, and rocks that came to life, and monsters that drove those who saw them mad. So we called them angels and devils, begged them to spare us from their wrath, and prayed for salvation. As time passed, their numbers died out, and mankind flourished. The world began to make more sense. Yet the unexplained can never truly go away, as if the universe requires for there to be things we can never truly understand. We will not go back into the dark, fearful night. We will not be ruled by the unknown. We will stand up for ourselves. Even as the rest of humanity remains uninformed, we will fight the darkness, containing it and shielding it from the eyes of the common man, so that they can continue to live in the blissful illusion of a normal world. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 22. Their faces haunt me in my dreams. Hundreds, thousands of them. Ones who blindly went to their deaths. For me. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 28. Made a mistake. Told someone the truth the night before I left. Had to use the last of my original medical supplies. In a way, I wish he'd aimed for the head. Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 41. This one solved an equation that could set a framework for the rest of the solution. I killed them by my own hand. Could they have ever imagined that it was an act of mercy? Excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 64. I suddenly remembered today what they told me before I left. They said that I probably wouldn't see anything, that I would probably simply fall asleep and wake up again. They lied. I can see them as they are, consumed by madness, as the walls of reality crack and shatter, only to be replaced as if nothing happened. I can see everything. Final excerpt from SCP-001-03, page 68. It is finally done. The equations are complete. The math is sound. But it comes too late once again. This team will not have the time to construct the solution, and I will have to abandon the Foundation again. But I do so with the knowledge that no more will have to suffer the same fate. SCP-001-34 is a worn, handwritten page discovered between the front cover and front page of SCP-001-03. To whom it may concern. First, I want to say that I am sorry for everything. I have most likely doomed you and everyone you have ever known to death and destruction by my mere presence in your world. If you are in possession of and reading this document, then I am probably dead. If that is the case, and I did not bother to destroy this evidence, then that means I have also probably failed in my mission. This means that my responsibilities have now passed on to you, and that your fate and the fate of your world are now in your hands. I was not born into your world. I am a traveler from a parallel plane of existence, an alternate reality, separate from your universe. The year from which I originate is of little consequence. If I've learned anything from my travels, the passing of time from universe to universe is meaningless. What is important is that in my plane of origin, mankind was highly advanced. We harnessed the power of entire stars, molded planets and moons alike to suit our needs, and even learned to manipulate the fabric of reality itself. We had conquered death through advances in medicine and technology, and we thought ourselves masters of our own fate. We realized too late that all such things have a cost, and that our greed and hubris would not only result in the loss of everything we held dear, but doom countless others as well. Our meddling in the structure of existence had opened up cracks and twists in the fabric of reality, a corruption of the multiverse that we had failed to notice earlier because we could not see the pieces of our reality leaking into others. By the time feedback began to manifest, it was already too late to stop it. Before this corruption consumed us completely, we came up with one final failsafe. We would gather up what knowledge we could save and sacrifice our world to send a single individual through to the next. This could not repair the damage that had already been done, but could buy us the time to start over and find a way to stop the corruption of reality. That individual was me. If you have not already found them, then the evidence to support my claims will begin to bleed into your world soon enough. Like a rain of glass, the shattered remains of other universes will begin to fall and slip into yours. Things that defy your understanding, fixed loops and structures without meaning or rhyme, that cannot be destroyed by any means you possess. Things that drive men mad and challenge all the assumptions that you hold dear. That which I carry with me is the final legacy of countless worlds. The equations and technology described in its pages carry with them the hope of stopping the corruption, a hope that has come with a heavy price. They are the last will and testament of a bloody trail of universes that have sacrificed and been sacrificed, that those who remain may avoid their fate. At the time of this writing, they are nearly complete, but time is ever against me. If I am no longer able to see this mission through to its bitter end, then it falls to you to finish what I began. Good luck. Data expunged. The Administrator. SCP-001-35 is a single handwritten page found between the last page and back cover of SCP-001-03. The handwriting in SCP-001-35 is inconsistent with that of the other handwritten documents in SCP-001. Data expunged. This is it, the last evidence that our civilization will have ever existed. No one is entirely sure what will happen when you activate the failsafe. Some of them are saying that the backlash from using it will instantly shatter what remains of our existence. Others are saying that using something of this power will merely accelerate the corruption by 100-fold. Either way, it will be quick. By the time you wake up at your destination, there will be nothing left of our home. You already know that it will only carry a single passenger, and the second team should have your gear ready by the time you're ready to go. I can only hope that with the time we've bought you, you can find a way to stop this disaster. If not, the device will keep track of the relative corruption level of local reality, as well as how many times it's been activated. A bit sadistic of us, perhaps. By the time you read this, I will already be dead. I'm sorry, but you have always been the stronger one. I don't have the strength to face the end with my head held high, not without you. I love you. Addendum 001-03, SCP-001-36. References found within the documents comprising SCP-001 suggest the existence of SCP-001-36, an electronic device or large document containing comprehensive technological and mathematical data related to SCP-001. The current whereabouts of SCP-001-36 are unknown. File 8. Codename S. Andrew Swan. The Database. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. There is no means to contain SCP-001 yet found that does not risk a potential ZK class reality failure scenario and subsequent destruction of the observable universe. See Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha. Current procedures are limited to the absolute containment of information regarding SCP-001. No data regarding the nature or description of SCP-001 shall be provided to any personnel with the sole exception of the senior member of O5 Command, currently O5 redacted. All data collected in regard to SCP-001 shall be stored in encrypted form via redacted, with the decryption key split into thirds. Each member of O5 Command shall memorize 1/3 and only 1/3 of the decryption key. Data shall only be decrypted on a network, isolated eyes-only terminal to be read only by the senior member of O5 Command, and then only after unanimous consent of O5 Command. Leaking of data about SCP-001 through espionage, telepathic leakage, original research, or redacted must be contained by any and all means available to the Foundation. The senior member of O5 Command, as the one person with authorized knowledge about SCP-001, is the final arbiter on containment. Foundation personnel of Level 2 or higher who discover data about SCP-001 in the course of their normal duties may be given a Class A amnestic after debriefing rather than being terminated. This is subject to O5 approval on a case-by-case basis. Description: Data expunged. Addendum: Containment Log 001 Alpha. Date: 01/12/19 redacted. Incident: Documents appear on Internet site redacted. Servers seized and authors traced to redacted. Resulting explosion explained as a gas leak. Monitoring has not shown any further propagation of documents. Date: 03/31/19 blank. Incident: Script with possibly compromising information optioned for production by blank blank pictures. Original screenwriter redacted. Agent successfully replaced script with one rewritten without redacted. Film is produced with title blank blank and grosses $27 million its opening weekend. Date: 06/19/19 blank. Incident: Novel outline describing redacted submitted to redacted by best-selling author blank blank. Attempt to neutralize author unsuccessful, leading to high-profile hospitalization. O5 authorizes the use of Class A amnestic to prevent more attention to case. Outline recovered and destroyed. Date: 05/2 blank 20 blank Z. Incident blank. Foundation blank searcher %20 discov %5 BD ADA expand blank JID %5D. Addendum: Emergency Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha. O5 eyes only. Ask yourself if you want to know. If the answer is no, then you need to stop reading now. If you go and report this unauthorized file to your supervisors, act contrite and claim that you only read to this paragraph. You might get away with Class A amnestic if you're lucky, and if the O5s aren't particularly paranoid at the moment. So you want to know what SCP-001 is? The first answer is that it was a placeholder, a theoretical designation for the prime cause, the ultimate reason for all the paranormal crap we deal with on a daily basis. SCP-001 is why we have to deal with omnicidal reptiles, ever-expanding rooms, extra-dimensional pools of red goop, and consumer products that don't obey the normal laws of physics. Of course, given that all these things, as dangerous and deadly and just plain insane as they all are inherently patternless and self-contradictory, most researchers are convinced that there is no possible unifying principle for them all, much less a common source. They're wrong. There's more than one reason that cross-testing is discouraged, and the O5s even look down on excessive cross-referencing of SCPs. The O5s don't want any one group looking at more than a handful of these things at once, because of what they discovered when the Foundation tried to develop a grand unified theory of SCPs. That research is mostly gone now. Site-001 Alpha was dismantled, scrubbed from the archives, the staff mind-wiped and reassigned. No one left but me, and I wouldn't know anything if it wasn't my habit of not trusting the Foundation servers and having my own hidden personal archive the O5s missed in their panic. I was a data analyst at Site-001 Alpha. Note to O5 Command: don't bother looking for me. I finished the job you started. The identities of all former staff at Site-001 Alpha have been completely scrubbed from the records. You know as much as they do now. And I participated in the first and only attempt to consolidate all Foundation data on all SCPs. I was in charge of data integrity. And as much of a mess as you might think that was, it was an order of magnitude worse. Forget the memetic SCPs, or the ones that modify their own descriptions, or the ones that seem to only inhabit infospace and slip into the database to wreak havoc. That's all SOP for anyone who works with the Foundation's network, just a matter of scale. Worse were the completely inexplicable, unexpected changes in data. Crossed out. Sorry, that's wrong, even though I can't help thinking of it that way. It isn't a change in data when reality is shifting to match. I don't know a lot about the internals of the software we used, but I know that part of it ran outside what we think of as the real world. And at first, everyone thought that the audit trails it produced were some kind of bug. However, it became apparent that the nature of the software, its purposeful isolation from the narrative affecting SCPs, allowed it to record something far more important. It's not visible to you, or the O5s, or even to most of the SCPs we deal with, but the Foundation, and by extension the entire universe, is in a state of constant shifting reality flux. SCP files appeared and disappeared from our database with alarming regularity, and the SCPs referred to all appearance, appeared and disappeared along with them. Not just SCPs, but personnel, whole sites, and entire decades of the Foundation history would be rewritten, seemingly at random, and our own memories, and all external research would confirm that objective reality matched the current version in our database. One of the researchers told me that it was as if we were seeing the effect of something like SCP-140, only much larger in scale. Yeah, something a lot like SCP-140, and infinitely larger in scale. I don't know who did the analysis, and if I did, I wouldn't say. She's probably a lot happier not knowing about her own discovery. But she looked at what vanished and what appeared, and what subtly changed in the records, and she found the pattern, the drift toward darkness, toward narrative coherence, toward a plot. Everyone who works any length of time at the Foundation knows the universe we live in is a seriously messed up place. Those of us who still believe in God tend toward serious ambivalence about his handiwork. But we found out that there is a God, and it is SCP-001, and it's a bunch of horror writers. Addendum: Emergency Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha, O5 eyes only. Enter decryption key. Decryption key accepted. Note: Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha carries a non-zero risk of creating a ZK-class reality failure scenario. Use should only be authorized in an attempt to mitigate an end-of-the-world scenario or the imminent destruction of the Foundation. Research at Site-001 Gamma has conducted narrative analysis on SCP-001's changes to the observable universe. Conclusions are that SCP-001 consists of multiple entities showing cognitive patterns that are indistinguishable from human, and that these entities are therefore susceptible to mimetic effects. Since prior experiments have shown information feedback via the SCP data warehouse, a possible method of attack and/or control has been developed. Protocol ZK-001 Alpha, when initiated, will cause a software viral insertion of a variety of mimetic agents into the SCP database, which, through the observed information feedback, should expose SCP-001 to the mimetic effects of these agents. Protocol ZK-001 Alpha consists of 3 stages. 1. Mimetic agents inserted to promote calm and/or well-being. 2. Mimetic agents inserted to promote sleep, unconsciousness, or catatonia. 3. Mimetic agents inserted to cause death. Given the nature of SCP-001 and our limited interaction with it, it is not possible at this time to safely test Protocol ZK-001 Alpha, and it is unknown if the universe can continue to exist without interaction with SCP-001. File 9. Codename Scantron. The Foundation. UIU File 0041. Altered High School Building in blank. Confirmed Anomaly 3. Object Class 53. Highly intrusive, unknown capabilities, unknown nature. Secure Containment Protocols. All of this is crossed out. Confirmed Anomaly 3, CA3, is to be surrounded by an electric fence no less than 30 feet high and guarded by the United States Army's blank platoon. Any footage or photographic evidence of CA3's interior is to be excised as soon as possible, and all witnesses detained indefinitely. Not crossed out. Under no circumstances should any personnel attempt to enter CA3 or communicate with the persons inhabiting it. However, any person known to have been inside CA3 at any point must be detained and interrogated. A direct military assault on CA3 has been deemed unfeasible at this point, due to the unknown capabilities of the entity or entities by which it is controlled. Note: This is a summary and it does not contain all information relevant to CA3. For detailed information regarding CA3, see UIU files 0042 through 0218. Director blank. Known information. The Unusual Incidents Unit was alerted to CA3's existence on September 7, 1954, when students attending blank high school reported that the interior of the building was vastly different than it had been at any point in the past. Upon discovery, CA3 exhibited several unusual, if not inherently paranormal traits. Nearly all walls in the facility had been replaced with steel-reinforced concrete, although several rooms were constructed of other materials for no readily apparent reason. All exterior windows had been covered from the inside. All student desks, personal effects, textbooks, and other materials expected of a public high school were completely absent. Lockers were still present, albeit significantly smaller and constructed of stainless steel. The arrangement, location, and size of rooms and facilities did not match blueprints for the school. Often, rooms would exhibit seemingly random modifications, although the number of changed rooms is currently unknown. No fewer than 17 electronic computers were found, each of which made use of the state-of-the-art magnetic core RAM. Prior to its classification as a confirmed anomaly, Blank High School had no computers. All files on the computers were inaccessible, and the computers themselves are firmly bolted down. The auditorium is inaccessible due to a large steel wall completely blocking the doorways. Attempts to move or damage this barrier have been ineffective. The extent and purpose of the barrier are unknown, as are the contents of the auditorium. A team sent into CA3's interior to do a complete survey, Team CO305, did not return, nor did a second team, Team CA306, tasked with locating the first team. The facilities are currently under lockdown, pending new containment protocols. Update. 23 days after initial recovery, guards reported white noise emanating from CA3, the volume of which increased near its auditorium. 5 hours later, the white noise stopped, although the sound of voices was audible from the interior of CA3. Upon further investigation, it was found that the building now contained a large number of persons, all of whom appeared to be wandering aimlessly through the facility. Notably, each individual was physically identical to a member of Team CA306. Despite the inhabitants of CA3 vastly outnumbering the members of Team CA306, attempts to interview or detain the inhabitants were thwarted by classified. The 12 members of Team CA305 were not found. In addition to the aforementioned, the interior layout of CA3 had changed significantly since the previous investigations. No mechanism which could explain this has been identified. Update. 3 months after the previous incident, white noise was again heard emanating from the auditorium. This time, the decision was made to investigate immediately. It was found that most of CA3-2, the designation given to the inhabitants of CA3, had gathered near the doors of the auditorium. A circular hole roughly 6 feet in diameter had formed in the steel barrier, although the interior was not visible. At 0310 hours, an item resembling a classified emerged from the hole and was carried away by an inhabitant. The item was placed in one of the classrooms, which had not previously been observed to open. This process continued for upwards of 8 hours, with a new item being produced once every 3 minutes. Most were seen entering a different room or locker, although insufficient personnel were available to track all items. Further investigation revealed that most, if not all, of the items produced exhibited anomalous properties themselves. A significant portion of CA3-2 are involved in either guarding the items produced, collectively CA3-3, or performing various tests on them. 2 days after the previous incident, 3 identical armed guards appeared near each entrance to CA3. Further attempts to enter the building were futile, as these guards have consistently overpowered all teams sent to enter CA3, regardless of injury or relative level of armament. Note: reports gathered during the 2 days prior to guards manifesting outside of CA3 appear to confirm that CA3-2 is following standard UIU protocol regarding the items produced by the auditorium. Their knowledge of UIU's standard procedure is consistent with that of Team CA3-05. During the UIU's tracking of CA6, 2 men identical to Agent Dixon, a member of CA306, emerged from a parked car and forcibly detained CA6, dragging him into the car and driving away. Tracking the vehicle for the next 8 hours revealed that it was driving directly to CA3. Upon arrival, the vehicle drove directly through the front doors, which the guards had opened shortly before their arrival. CA6 has not been recovered. UIU File 0042, message received from CA3. On May 15, 1965, the following message was transmitted in Morse code from CA3 on standard UIU communication frequencies. Sensitive data has been classified and the beginning of each sentence has been capitalized, but the message has otherwise not been changed. Hello, we are the O5 Council and we, Secure, Contain, Protect. We have been shown to do, and it would be nice to be friends. It is nice to have been a part of your excellent, but it is best that with superior resources given, the greatness, we will control containment. Our sincerest apologies regarding guards and detainment, workers and secrets kept needed. The time and waits we apologize. The radio blocked by 1 SCP or 2. Expect an expansion soon, for we spaces, for although away from auditorium. Okay, but unwant. 8 hours later, the following transmission was received. Expanded now. See the blank federal building. It is now a functional. Need doctors, guards, D-men, recruiting. Anomalies found and further possibly international researching, of course possible. International may be days, weeks to do. Further, we O5 are aware, sorry to O6 missed, that legible barely, but go between auditorium not blank. Goodbye and luck with your troubles. For further information, see UIU file blank. Altered federal building in blank blank. Confirmed anomaly 10. File 10. Codename Dioric/Dematics 36. Object class humanoid. Threat level green, circumstantial red. Containment class Euclid. Special containment procedures. Instances of SCP-001 are to be contained within standard humanoid containment modules. Under no circumstances are any instances of SCP-001 to be stored at the same site, allowed to interact in any manner, or to be made aware of information regarding other members of the group. Personnel assigned to any single SCP-001 subject are not to be made aware of the other instances of SCP-001 or the connections among them. SCP-001 subjects are not to come into direct contact with any other anomalous items outside of approved testing. Revised. Blank, blank, 20 blank. O5 Special Order A-1130-X. In light of the events resulted in SCP-001-05's death, the use of SCP-001 subjects and the neutralization of anomalous objects is hereby prohibited. All care is to be taken to keep SCP-001 subjects alive and unharmed. Recovery and containment of SCP-001 subjects is to be considered highest priority. In the case of a death event, Ouroboros Protocol is to be initiated as soon as possible. Description: SCP-001 is a group of 36 individuals designated SCP-001-01 through SCP-001-036. There is no apparent pattern in terms of ethnicity, gender, age, or religious affiliation amongst SCP-001 subjects. SCP-001 subjects display no anomalous properties of their own. However, any anomalous item, entity, or property brought into close proximity with an SCP-001 subject will be greatly modified from its original properties. Most often, this will result in a lessening or total nullification of anomalous properties. Those properties not nullified will be changed so as to display consistency between objects of similar property. All of these effects are instantaneous and will occur without any input from the subject. The area of these effects will expand when multiple SCP-001 subjects are brought together, as well as the intensity of changes. Multiple SCP-001 subjects are capable of nullifying anomalous effects without being aware of the presence of said objects. All subjects of SCP-001 seem to be instinctively aware of information regarding other SCP-001 subjects, generally the total number of the group and details of between 1 and 3 individuals. This knowledge is vague, making locating uncontained subjects difficult. The death of an SCP-001 subject will result in the manifestation of multiple anomalous entities and phenomena in the area. These manifestations will be of such a scope that traditional containment measures are unfeasible and will result in significant casualty and collateral damage. Contained SCP-001 subjects have claimed that this is a result of the deceased individual's absence letting things through, and that further events will be more severe as time progresses. In addition, contained subjects have claimed that any deceased individuals will be replaced by a newborn bearing the appropriate properties. No such individuals have yet been located. See Document 001-EX for a list of notable modifications to items by SCP-001 subjects. A full listing of all nullifications may be found in Document 001-N. Addendum-01. Known members of SCP-001 are as follows. Designation: SCP-001-01. Ethnicity: Jewish German. Sex: male. Age: 94. Current status: contained. Notes: currently in induced stasis to prevent death. Numerical identification code tattooed on left forearm. Designation: SCP-001-02. Ethnicity: Tamil. Sex: female. Age: 88. Current status: contained. Notes: was pregnant at time of containment. Child born without incident. Currently under Foundation watch. Designation: SCP-001-03. Ethnicity: British. Sex: female. Age: 91. Current status: contained. Notes: subject was British Army nurse, recorded as dead in 1943. Designation: SCP-001-04. Ethnicity: Han Chinese. Sex: male. Age: 97. Current status: contained. Notes: first subject to disclose information regarding other subjects to the Foundation. Taoist priest of the Chuanjian School. Designation: SCP-001-05. Ethnicity: Pashtun. Sex: male. Age: 101. Current status: deceased. Notes: subject died in containment. See Incident Report 001-05-EX for further detail. Designation: SCP-001-06. Ethnicity: Italian. Sex: female. Age: 39. Current status: uncontained. Originally recovered from a hostel in Budapest, subject escaped containment 8 days later during breach at Site 90. Current whereabouts unknown. Designation: SCP-001-07. Ethnicity: Polish-Argentinian. Sex: female. Age: 52. Current status: uncontained. In possession of GOI-16. The Horizon Initiative. Designation: SCP-001-08. Russian. Male. Age: 5. Current status: uncontained. In possession of unknown individual or group. No family members have been located. SCP-001-07. Polish-Argentinian. Sex: female. Age: 52. Current status: uncontained. Notes: in possession of GOI-16. The Horizon Initiative. SCP-001-09. Aboriginal Australian. Female. 31. Uncontained. In possession of GOI-16. The Horizon Initiative. SCP-001-10. African American. Male. 28. Uncontained. In possession of GOI-16. The Horizon Initiative. SCP-001-011. Nigerian. Male. 45. Contained. SCP-001-011's family was present during its recovery. SCP-001-011's eldest son offered armed resistance to Foundation personnel despite SCP-001-011's objection and was neutralized. Remainder of family administered Class A amnestics. SCP-001-012. Arabic, female, 14, deceased. Subject was killed by members of GOI-03, the Chaos Insurgency, during the recovery effort. See Incident Report 001-012-RC-EX for further details. SCP-001-013, Korean American, female, unknown, uncontained. Actively frustrating recovery efforts. SCP-001-014, Navajo, male, 23, contained. Was recovered by Foundation personnel after contact had been made between the subject and SCP-1295. See Document 001-EX for further details. Addendum 02. SCP-001-01 through SCP-001-05 were initially recovered on blank 1944 in Jerusalem. During investigation of supposed miracles and other anomalous events in the area by the HMF SCP, SCP-001-01 through SCP-001-05 were found in the care of 3 individuals classified as POI 1458, POI 1459, and POI 1460. Said individuals possess possible ties to GOI-16, the Horizon Initiative, and may have had a hand in its founding. The recovery effort was hindered by factional fighting within the HMF SCP. SCP-001-01 was severely injured in the resulting firefight, but was successfully stabilized and recovered along with the other subjects, and passed into the jurisdiction of the Preservationist faction. The individuals responsible for sheltering the SCP-001 subjects fled during the fighting and were not able to be apprehended. Interview Log 001-11-02. The following interview with SCP-001-05 was recorded on blank 19 blank. Dr. Blank, you spoke last time of having a specific purpose. Could you explain, please? SCP-001-05. I am here to help set things right. Dr. Blank, go on. SCP-001-05. The world is broken, Doctor, and my brothers and sisters and I are here to heal it, to gather it together and prepare the way for what is to come. The process has already been set in motion, though regrettably there have been some setbacks. Dr. Blank, please explain. SCP-001-05. SCP-001-01, he was the one who was to gather all the rest. With him now hovering between life and death, that duty falls to us, but we know only glimpses of a few others in our number. It is enough. Dr. Blank, you don't fear for his safety? SCP-001-05. Death is just another part of what it is meant to be. It's nothing to fear. Dr. Blank, an admirable view of things. How did you learn of your purpose? SCP-001-05. I had a dream. Portent, prophecy, hallucination, call it what you will. It planted a seed in my head. An intuition, you might say. It was the next day I met SCP-001-01. Dr. Blank, can you describe the dream? SCP-001-05. There was a man in rich clothing like a king or emperor. He kept saying, "Where is the tailor? Where is my tailor?" and pacing back and forth. Each time he asked it, another voice would answer, "He is close now, he is close at hand." But he did not arrive. The man became more and more upset, and as he paced, moths came and landed on him, and began to eat away at his clothing. His robes began to fray and rot, as more and more moths landed on him, and some even bit his skin. But then the doors opened, and there arrived not one tailor, but dozens, led by the most masterful tailor in the kingdom. The king was overjoyed, for he knew he would be saved from the moths that tried to consume him. I woke up then, and I knew. He found me, and I followed him. Dr. Blank, if you'll pardon the dramatic phrasing, when all of you come together, the world will end, correct? SCP-001-05, chuckling. Doctor, the world has already ended. This was to be the last war. The world's time has come and gone, and it is stretching thinner by the day, until there will be nothing left but the moths. But there is still some time left. We can find each other on our own. Dr. Blank, and then what happens? SCP-001-05. Quiet days, Doctor. Quiet days and peace. Incident Report 001-05-EX. Authorized personnel only. Security Memetic. What sword shall you choose? Date, blank 19 blank. Location, Site 128. Coordinates, blank. Event type, LK. Localized crisis. Description. Event occurred upon the death of SCP-001-05 at 22:12 local time. MTF squads stationed at Site 41, Site 98, and Site 203 were deployed in response. Liquidation protocols for all items within Site 128 were authorized at 22:15. Resultant anomalies. UAP blank. Self-replicating substance similar in composition to clay. Upon contact with a vertebrate organism, the substance would mold around the host, overriding the host's behavior. Without nearby hosts, substance would spread along ground or coalesce into large masses. UAP-blank. 8-winged entity with avian and cephalopod traits, measuring 70 meters in wingspan and 45 meters tall, would manifest swarms of entities outwardly similar to crows or ravens, measuring approximately 3 meters in length. UAP blank. A series of 109 great cubicodahedrons, measuring approximately a meter in width. Air temperature in a radius of 20 meters of the object would rise to over 250 degrees Celsius. Affected areas would immediately cool after exiting the area of effect. Objects were capable of flight at approximately 25 kilometers an hour. 9 reported Class 3 biological revival scenarios. Widespread civilian reports of spontaneous ritualistic cannibalism. Anomalous weather patterns extended to approximately 110 kilometers out from the initial event site. Rainfall contained high amounts of fatal pathogens, including Zaire Ebola virus, Escherichia coli, and variola major. Disappearance of SCP-1348. See Document 001-EX. Recovery efforts. Ouroboros Protocol initiated at 22:23, completing at 2100. Protocol was carried out at 97% efficiency. Foundation casualties 1,350. Items lost 27. Estimated civilian casualties 10,000. Incident Report 001-012-RC-EX. Authorized personnel only. Security Memetic through the long night. Date ____20 Located, redacted, Islamic Republic of Eastern Samothrace. Event type LK Localized Crisis. Description: Recovery of SCP-001-012 was engaged at 07:31 local time. Subject was reluctantly cooperative. At 07:43, operatives from GOI-03, the Chaos Insurgency, attacked the recovery team. SCP-001-012 was severely injured during the event, along with agents blank and blank. SCP-001-012 was generally incoherent from this point, displaying signs of glossolalia. The extent of the subject's coherent statement was recorded as follows. They're hungry, you see. Gnaws and bites and claws and crunch, crunch, crunch. Old food is better than no food, see? They're very hungry and keep getting hungrier. Recovery team was attacked a second time at 8:15. At 08:15, resulting in the death of SCP-001-012. Resultant anomalies. UAP-blank. Semi-amorphous tetrapedal entity measuring approximately 50 meters in height and 200 meters in length. Entity was resistant to conventional weaponry. UAP-blank. Data expunged. Spontaneous consumption of individuals by large masses of maggots. Species unknown. Data expunged. Data expunged. Flash flooding consisting of mixture of 2% chocolate milk, crude oil, chicken broth, and rabbit feces. Reappearance of SCP-1348. See Document 001-EX for notable alterations. Recovery efforts. Nuclear deployment authorized by the Board of Overseers at 08:17. Ouroboros Protocol initiated at 08:46, completing at 07:30. Protocol was carried out at 61% efficiency. Notes: The Islamic Republic of Eastern Samothrace has been classified as SCP-1173 on account of reality instability caused by flaws in the operation of Ouroboros protocols. Foundation casualties 8. Estimated Chaos Insurgency casualties 25. Estimated civilian casualties 175,000. Document 001-EX, authorized personnel only. Security memetic. We saw them walk on clouds of meat. Test log SCP-001/361. Forward. Due to SCP-001's possible Abrahamic roots and its potent effects on religion-based anomalies of a similar origin, a test to establish if its effects have a wider base was required. SCP-361 was chosen for this test as a low-risk, non-Abrahamic religious object, with easily observable effects. Begin log. SCP-001-02 was instructed to introduce a sheep's liver to SCP-361. SCP-361. Welcome to Harisco. Oh, it's you. SCP-001-02. So it would seem. SCP-361. Well, if you're calling, that means... Oh hell, it's time already. SCP-001-02. Yes. SCP-361. Well, we suppose we should have seen it coming. Traffic has been getting very thin lately. Guess it's time to go. SCP-001-02. You will be there with us when everything is in order again. SCP-361. Assuming you'll be able to do it. Well, kid, we guess this is goodbye. We know we and your boss didn't always see eye to eye, but we had a good run overall. It's been fun. SCP-001-02. You'll be there, I promise. SCP-361. And we don't doubt for a second that you believe that. See you on the other side, kid. Or not. SCP-001-02. I can't remember the last time anyone called me a kid. Connection terminated. Closing statement. Following Test 001/361, SCP-361 ceased to function. Any attempts to introduce its usual stimulant to it produced only a sound similar to that of a disconnected dial tone. Test log SCP-001/738. Forward. SCP-738 was chosen for experimentation due to possible thematic links. No physical description of the entity, henceforth designated SCP-738-4, was provided by SCP-001-03. Begin log. SCP-738-4. Well, look who it is. How the hell have you been? What can I do for you? SCP-001-03. Just a message delivery, Jack. Next time you head back, tell everyone to get ready. The contract is winding down. SCP-738-4. Are you kidding me? Not pulling some sort of trickery? SCP-001-03. Not at all. SCP-738-4. Really time for the scrap, eh? It's been long enough. You know what? For you, no charge. It's on me this time, right out of the kindness of my shriveled black heart. SCP-001-03. Well, maybe not so black. SCP-738-4. Laughs, slaps table. You're killing me here. See, that's why I like you. Always got a joke and a smile. Close log. Closing statement. Contact left by SCP-738-4 read, It's on the house. X. SCP-001-03 offered no explanation as to why SCP-738-4 was referred to as Jack. SCP-738 currently displays no anomalous effects when used and has been reclassified as SCP-738-N. Test log SCP-001/1295. Forward. On the blank 1803. As all 4 instances of SCP-1295 were leaving the diner, they were addressed by an individual, later classified by SCP-001-14. Since the containment procedures for SCP-1295 did not allow for the direct intervention of Foundation personnel in this scenario, the conversation was instead recorded. Begin log. SCP-001-14. Gentlemen, if I might have a moment of your time. SCP-1295-4. Why, look who's finally here. Boy, do you know how long we've been waiting for you to show up. What took you? SCP-001-14. I apologize. I was only recently made aware of my duties. SCP-1295-1. Ah, don't worry about it, kid. Dwight here was just being an ass. What he meant to say is that it's damn good to finally see you. SCP-1295-2. Not that sitting here wasn't nice, but a man can only eat so many fruit cobblers before he gets tired of them. It's time to get back to business. SCP-001-14. That is indeed what I'm here for. The time for your ride is drawing near. I was tasked with letting you know this, and asking you to begin the preparations. I was told you would know what to do. SCP-1295-3. That we do, my lad, that we do. I'm not one to brag, but there ain't no one in the business that knows better. SCP-001-14. I would like you to remember that we all live in different times. This task requires a surgeon's scalpel, not a broadsword. You'll need to be gentle this time around. SCP-1295-1. Blast, I was afraid you'd say that. SCP-1295-4. Don't you worry, we'll be as gentle as anyone could ask for. I suspect you will see you again before all this is through, my boy. You take care. To SCP-1295-1 through 3. Come on, lad, time's a-wasting, and we've got a lot of stuff to get ready. Right out. End log. Closing statement. All 4 instances of SCP-1295 proceeded to leave the diner. Following their departure, Foundation personnel detained SCP-001-14 and took him into custody without further incident. No instances of SCP-1295 returned to the diner following this conversation or were seen since. Test log SCP-001/1348. Following the death of SCP-001-05, Site-87's Archaeological Containment Unit underwent a Class DK event, dimensional shift, vanishing and therefore becoming inaccessible to outside access or communication. Following the death of SCP-001-12, Site-87 returned to its previous position. Upon its return, an exploration team was sent to investigate SCP-1348's containment status and discovered the following alterations to its workings. All Foundation personnel present on site at the time of its disappearance were absent, as was their personal gear, technical equipment, and food rations. 5 new instances of SCP-1348-1 appeared in SCP-1348's inner chamber. Unlike the previously discovered SCP-1348-1E, these new instances appeared to be in perfect health. Said instances were found performing SCP-1348-2. The ritual, designated SCP-1348-2, has been altered, likely due to the presence of the aforementioned instances of SCP-1348-1. Performance of the altered SCP-1348-2 by instances of SCP-1348-1 lacks the mimetic effect of its previous incarnation. Since SCP-1348-3's veil was now permanently opened, the purpose of the altered SCP-1348-2 is currently unclear. The inner chamber, designated SCP-1348-3, was significantly altered. The decorations in the chamber, formerly all of Proto-Semitic style, now included designs from a much wider selection of cultures, including Mesoamerican, Proto-Indo-European, Antarctican, in addition to designs clearly originating from a much later period than SCP-1348's supposed construction date. The veil in the center of SCP-1348-3 has been permanently opened, and was found empty except for a series of Amharic etchings on the inner side of the veil. He had suffered enough, had carried the weight of the world upon his broken back for long enough, and now comes the end, to his beauty and to the world. Whatever that end may be, know that he is free, finally slumbering in oblivion's embrace. His requiem will be sang until the unraveling. He deserves that much. No traces of radiation were found. Reclassification to Euclid pending. Test log SCP-001/073. Forward. Due to the relative safety of interacting with SCP-073, testing with SCP-001-11 has been authorized in the hopes of establishing neutralization of SCP-076. Begin log. SCP-073. Hello, have we met before? SCP-001-11. No, we haven't. SCP-073. You don't look like a doctor. SCP-001-11, schoolteacher by trade, though that's neither here nor there. You've been released from your binding. SCP-073, is that so? It's been a very long time. SCP-001-11, it has. SCP-073, well then, easy way to test it, if you would. SCP-073 turns head, motioning to his cheek. SCP-001-11 nods and slaps SCP-073. Action successfully makes contact. No counteraction recorded. SCP-073. So it is. Have you spoken with my brother yet? SCP-001-11. No, not yet. SCP-073. When you see him, tell him that I am sorry. Close log. Closing statement. SCP-073 currently demonstrates no anomalous properties and has been classified as SCP-073-N. Observation is ongoing. Forward. Due to the successive exposure of 073 to SCP-001-11, the O5 Board has granted clearance for testing to be carried out with SCP-076. SCP-001-11 was placed in the primary containment chamber and instructed to wait until SCP-076-2 emerged from SCP-076-1. Begin log. SCP-001-11 SCP-001-11 enters SCP-076's containment chamber with instructions to wait until 076-2 manifests. After 63 minutes, SCP-076-2 emerges from SCP-076-1. Upon seeing SCP-001-11, SCP-076-2 was overcome by a fit of hysterical laughter and crying for approximately 30 minutes. SCP-076-2, has he forgiven me? SCP-001-11, he has. Close log. Closing statement. SCP-076-2 currently demonstrates no anomalous properties or violent behavior and has been reclassified as SCP-076-2-N. It has been relocated to a high-security humanoid containment chamber. Document 001-IC-34. Authorized personnel only. Security Memetic. On basalt feet we stood. The following communique originated within the leadership of GOI-16, the Horizon Initiative. The message was found alongside item E7455 during recovery on blank blank 20 blank. How do you explain to someone that the world is dying and that only they may save it? We have often asked ourselves that question during the 60 or so years since that fateful day in Jerusalem, and entertained different notions on the most effective ways to do so. 50 years ago we were Elijah, full of bluster and wrath, calling upon our less faithful brothers to rally to the 36's cause, using fear to further our goals. 30 years ago we were Isaiah, seeking to strengthen our less courageous brothers, that with the conviction that our cause was just, speaking of the greatness of our task, using the newfound confidence to build an order on which our goals would stand. 10 years ago we were Jeremiah, weeping at the doors of the world's great powers, pleading for them to listen, for we now understood that this task was beyond our power alone. And now we are Jonah, and are lost for words. How do we make you understand what is at stake, when the only way you could see is to let everything your organization ever did go, for the word of 3 old men? That is too much to ask even of righteous men, and we are not yet certain you are such. All we can ask is that you listen. You have seen what the 36 can do. You have seen the way the world unravels around them, but you do not understand why. You see them as just another entry in your great book of diseases, a threat to the wholesomeness of the body you keep, the world. It is not so. The items and phenomena you keep hidden from the world are not diseases, they are symptoms, and you are not keeping the world healthy by masking them when the underlying condition is ignored. The problem is that this condition is chronic. The world is simply old, and the 36, they might make it young again. For them to be able to do so, you will be required to make the ultimate sacrifice. You must relinquish your identity. You were made to secure, and we are asking you to trust in the unproven. You were made to contain, and we are asking you to release. You were meant to protect, and we are asking you to leave the world vulnerable. It is an impossible request, this we know, but you must fulfill it if there is to be any hope for us. Release the 36, let them come together. Let them do what needs to be done, and we shall follow. Help 3 old men make the world young again. Don't let it die. Alright, so in the last episode, I said that the 2 that I thought were the most likely to be the real SCP-001 were the Sheaf of Papers and the Gate Guardian. So with this new set of 5, I honestly thought that the first 2, the Spiral Path and the Legacy, were just boring in my opinion. They're pretty much the same story. We made everything basically, just like the factory, except not as gory. It's just like not creative enough in my opinion. Yeah, they're like origin stories, but they're not interesting origin stories to me. Like, the Sheaf of Papers is a more interesting origin story to me, and it's not even very long or, like, detailed or even a story. So, I don't want it to be either of those. They just really, like, the Spiral Path, he comes across the path, and then because of it, he makes SCPs. It's just kind of strange, in a monotonous way. Like, the rest of the SCPs are strange, but in an interesting way. This is strange in just a, like, monotonous way. And saying that all of the SCPs were made by humans is just, like, where's the mystery, and how? I get that we're working in a fictional universe and they don't have to apply to our rules don't have to apply to them, but, like, you know, how does somebody make the pipe nightmare or the staircase or any of the others? Like, there's a really interesting one about a mirror and it takes you to different dimensions. How does somebody make that? I just don't like it, personally. And then the Legacy, they come from, like, another dimension, but the people in the other dimension made them, so it's still similar in my mind. I just don't like the idea of, like, knowing for certain where these things came from. Like, with the Sheaf of Papers, you don't really know where everything comes from. Like, you don't get to know who makes them. They just kind of appear randomly, and, like, not even right after they read the file, the next file, you know? Like, they read a file, and then a few months later they get a call about an SCP. There's still that mystery to it. It's not like, oh, we know exactly who made all of these things. So that's what I like about that and don't like about the Spiral Path or the Legacy. Now, the database. I was kind of disappointed in the beginning because I thought it was setting up to be exactly like the first 2. Just another origin story, we made them, blah blah blah. But then it turns out that SCP-001 is the website, is the people who have written all the SCPs, and that's interesting. Yeah, it takes away the mystery, but it's so... I think it's a really interesting idea that people have made these stories and then the stories become aware of the people who made them. That just was really cool, and I hadn't read this one before, so when I got to the twist, it was really exciting. I don't know, I find this one exciting. Maybe you don't. But I like it, and I just think it's really cool because nowhere else do they really suggest that the SCP Foundation isn't real on the website. The website takes itself very seriously, and I mean, obviously there are places where they, talk about how you can write your own and stuff like that, but like for the most part, the website takes itself seriously and pretends like this is just all real. So this is the first time I've seen anything that is in the story of SCP that suggests that it's not real. And I just really think it's interesting with regards to all of that. So then there's the foundation, the school that's been slowly turning itself into the SCP Foundation. It's interesting. It's definitely creative, but I'm not, compared to the other stuff that, like the Gate Guardian and the sheaf of papers and the database, sorry. It's interesting, yeah, but I think if I don't want to believe the sheaf of papers or the database are the real ones, I really want SCP-001 to be something like end of the world catastrophic, like the Gate Guardian. And the Foundation just isn't that. I could definitely see why maybe the O5 command wouldn't want anyone to know about it, but it does sound like quite a few people already do know about it, since, people had been sent in and there were people watching, like when the obviously SCP anomalies started showing up and the people in the school started putting them places. There were people watching where they put them. So a lot of people would already know that this exists. So it doesn't seem like there would be a reason for so much misdirection. So far I still think number 1, the sheaf of papers, number 3, the Gate Guardian, or number 8, the database are the most interesting. The last one I talked about today was 36, where there's 36 different people, and they all, if they come together, will trigger the end of the world, or they will fix the world. They seem pretty certain they're going to fix something, but the SCP containment personnel think they're going to end the world. It's definitely really cool. It was super long. I mean, you listen to it, so it was a whole 30 minutes, whereas the rest of them combined were 45 minutes. I kind of think sometimes that the longer they are, the harder they are to read, though, because you kind of just, like with this one, get bogged down with information, and then like they, sometimes it makes it more interesting to have like redacted or blanked out things, but with some of them, like this one, where you're trying to keep track of a lot of things for a very long story, I don't feel like it really serves too much of a purpose. I know in some of the scarier SCPs, some of the things that get redacted make them seem less scary because you can't quite imagine by yourself what is being redacted. Like, you need to have enough context clues so that I can kind of understand what you're getting at when you're redacting something that's supposed to be too scary or too detailed. I guess I'm just saying the redactions should have a purpose rather than just being there for the sake of being there. But anyway, with the 36, it definitely is a compelling option. 36 different people, trying to come together while other people try not to let them come together, and it is an end of the world scenario, so I think tentatively it can be added to the list of proposals that I think could be the real one. But if I had to choose between the database and 36, I would choose the database. Alright, good night everybody. Stay safe. Bye.